And this is where it brings me to Mark Cuban and the inconsistencies with the sale of the Dallas Mavericks, particularly coming from him. The number that was floating around was $3.5 billion, but also right away in a PR move, it was made to be known that he would have control of the team, which fast forward turned out not to be true. See, the reason why they threw that out there that he was still going to be in control of the team is that the $3.5 billion that the team was allegedly sold for was considered too low due to the fact that the Phoenix Suns a couple years earlier had sold for $4. That's why I say there's a lot of nuances to this story, because within the final days of Mark Cuban's reigns of just being the majority owner of the Dallas Mavericks, they lost their local TV deal. Almost half the NBA teams in the league kind of got involved with that Diamond Sports filing for bankruptcy. They kind of got caught in that wind, so teams had to rush and find ways of putting the games on for their fans to catch it. The Phoenix Suns, the Houston Rockets, the Utah Jazz, some of these teams, their games are free today just over the airwaves, or they collaborated with other local baseball teams and hockey teams to kind of formulate a package. But make no mistake about it, they are taking a pay cut when it comes to that television revenue. So right now we know Mark Cuban has some upcoming extensions that's going to put him into the luxury tax with Luka and Kyrie. And at the same time, they lost their local TV revenue. But here's Mark Cuban 9 years earlier explaining how owning an NBA team isn't the luxury that it really seems to be. You guys check it out.
The LA Clippers franchise is going to sell far north, in my opinion.
You think so? Of $1 billion?
Oh, yeah, not
Really?
even close. Yeah,
Really?
not even close. Now, the bigger issue there is we talk about people wanting to own sports franchises. There's a finite number. But the pricing now, people always ask me, would you buy a football team? I can't afford a football team.
Really?
Right? But, I walk through the streets of New York, people pull over their cars, buy the Mets, buy the Mets, buy the Mets. A, I don't want to be in MLB anymore, but B, I don't think I could afford them. The point being, acquiring a franchise has gone from, kind of rich guys, regardless of their demographic,
Right.
or women, right? Because there's women owners as well, being able to write a check for a team, to it being a consortium.
A business deal, a big business deal
where you
with
have
lots of stakeholders.
Yeah, you have lots of stakeholders, right? And there's a lead partner and there's a lot of investors. That changes the tenor of the entire sport, right? Of all sports, right? It's no longer, I used to be the young kid on the block causing problems, right? Now I'm one of the old school dudes, right? Because we've had such a turnover, and a lot of the professional sports have had a big turnover, and the people coming in to buy the teams are rarely individual owners anymore.
Right.
Now they're consortiums, as you said.
So things are really going to change for the Clippers.
Things have, again, I can't talk to the Clippers, but I'm saying in sports in general, right? We've already turned the corner now that buying a professional sports team in any of the 3, maybe 4, including the NHL sports leagues, even Major League Soccer we're talking about, the price of a franchise has gone from, I remember people talked to me years ago, $10 million, right, to $100+ million. It's no longer someone just writing a check, hey, this is my team, right, come into my locker room. It's a real business. It's not, what's the right word? It's not a trophy asset like it used to be. It has to make money. And that has changed dramatically. And it's almost the law of unintended consequences that these circumstances with the Clippers could be what changes it even more dramatically.
Now, Mark Cuban was speaking like this way before the new CBA took effect, in which today's current rules really punishes teams for spending a lot of money. So it's even more expensive than it used to be to maintain a championship team from year in and year out. But again, it's the sale of the Mavericks that should have been the first hint to Dallas Mavericks fans that something could really go stray, because that $3.5 billion number that Cuban got was already considered low among the national NBA media members. And that 3.5 number also includes debt. So the number at the end of the day, even after taxes or whatever is taken out, really could be 1.2 to 1.5 billion. But again, Cuban not only threw it out there that he sold the team, but he actually had some control of what was going on in the front office, which we found out even after the Luka trade that was not true. And with Cuban loving the spotlight so much, as we all know he does, he kept on talking and talking until he finally gave up his true feelings.
Was your son upset about the trade?
Yeah, I mean.
Were you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And I've said this before. If if the Mavs are going to trade Luka, that's one thing. Just get a better deal. No disrespect to Anthony Davis, but get 3. If I still firmly believe if we had gotten 4 unprotected number ones and Anthony Davis and Max Christie, this would be a different conversation.
Would you ever have traded Luka Doncic?
I'm not going to go there. It doesn't even matter. I went through this before when Steve Nash left and then won 2 MVPs.
Yeah.
Right. The good news is that we went to the finals and won a championship. So I've been through something, but there wasn't social media back then, so it wasn't quite the same. But yeah, I mean, you're going to make mistakes, and I think the biggest challenge that the Mavs have right now is there's nobody who's really outgoing to communicate. And it's not so much what you do, it's how you communicate why you do what you do.
Mark Cuban loving the spotlight, but also showing that initial report of him having control of the team ended up not being true because a few months later, Luka got shipped out. And speaking of the inconsistencies, let's hear from Patrick Dumont himself as he calls this Luka trade a long-term move.
So tough decisions are never easy. And part of leadership is looking at risk and looking at all the factors of a decision and being willing to act at that time and look to the long term and not only think about the short term or how it may be received immediately, but to think about the long-term benefits and what it may allow you to achieve if given all the right considerations. And I think for us, going into the trade deadline last year, we were not competitive. If you recall, we were not a playoff-bound team. And we were able to do some things to reconstruct the roster and enable the team to become very competitive. And after the trade deadline last year, we actually had the best record in basketball, which was a big accomplishment. And we got to the championship games, and we didn't win. And so we had to decide, how do we get better? What can we do to improve our team? And so we looked at our trajectory during the season and realized that we did not get better. But the teams that we competed against, some of which we beat, did get better. And ultimately, when you look at the Eastern Conference, after we were to get through the Western Conference, if we're so fortunate, you would have to beat some very formidable teams, including one that we lost to, which actually got better. So this was a decision about the future. If you look at our roster today and who we have, we feel like we position ourselves to be incredibly competitive against the best teams in the NBA. And if you're a fan of basketball, I'll just throw that out there, you have Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, and either Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively as your starting 5. That's going to put fear into a lot of teams in the league if we can get going.
Boy, that's a tough sell right there. And also him calling the moves a long-term move after Nico Harrison said, hey, they're trying to win now. So again, a lot of inconsistencies of what's really being said. And Dumont, you really can't sell that starting lineup to a fan base when they had the best player 25 and younger in the whole NBA. But hold on right there. There's some more inconsistencies. Knowing that there's a new CBA and it punishes teams who spend a lot of money, check out what Patrick Dumont had to say about having max players outside of Luka on the Mavericks.
The other thing that people say is, salary cap. I have to tell you something. It was not about the contract. The way the NBA works, there's a salary cap, and it's just a percentage of the cap. So if I could sign 3 max players, I'd do it. It's just a percentage of risk allocation within the team's overall cost structure. So I don't know if anyone from the team hears me, but if you can find us 3 max players, let's go.
Tomorrow.
Let's go.
It's kind of crazy in today's landscape. There's a lot of media covering the NBA, but notice right there, there's no pushback, which there should have been right away. So sometimes owners and players get to skate around certain questions and avoid certain accountabilities.